I threw out everything that you're supposed to do. We all know the webinar format. You're supposed to squish objections and you're supposed to prepare them and you're supposed to value stack. When I did that, guess what conversion rate I got? 1.1%.
1.1? That's actually impressive.
1.1%. That's impressively bad.
Yes.
You can't build a business like that. When I threw out everything that you're supposed to do and I did everything wrong, that's when I hit 37% because I spoke from the heart. Live video allows you to not be authentic. I'm throwing the word authentic out the window. So I'm going with the word real. And if you can combine live with you being real with your audience, that's where that magic happens.
Hey, welcome to the Video Creators Podcast presented by vidIQ. You know how you put a lot of time and energy into your YouTube channel for not nearly enough growth? Yep, we get it. We are here today to help you change that.
Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to see you again for another Video Creators Podcast episode brought to you by vidIQ like we do every Monday. We're just hanging out, sharing more advanced growth tips and tactics, next level strategy, growing your business, helping you reach more people and change lives. Luria from Live Streaming Pros met up with Tim the other day in San Diego to talk about their live streaming strategy so that you can actually sound natural, human, and dare I say, even have a little fun doing it. Not just connecting with your audience, but even selling. Blake, Sam, and I are going to chat about live stream strategy in particular, which is a great traffic source. But first, here's Tim and Luria.
Hi, Luria.
Hey, it's so good to finally see you again.
Yes.
I feel like it's been forever.
Yeah, all the pandemic stuff is mostly behind us. We get to hang out again. It's good to see you. So how's live streaming been going for you and Live Streaming Pros?
Well, speaking of the pandemic, it blew live up, right? Like in a good way. It's been a huge sense.
Congratulations, I guess.
I know. No, I always feel so weird and awkward about saying, yeah, my business grew during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But it taught us that we need human connection, right? And I think that was the biggest takeaway from the pandemic outside of medical stuff, but like we reconnected with our need for human-to-human connection. And I think that has impacted not only live streaming, but marketing in general.
That's awesome. Ooh, okay. This is going to be a good conversation
here,
guys.
Here we go.
So first, tell us about live. So live streaming is not something we talk about a whole lot here.
Right.
And I'm curious, first of all, to hear your perspective on, for creators who are typically making more live, long-term, but long-form content on YouTube, what would be some of the main reasons you would say they should consider live streaming?
Well, so live streaming is a form of long-form content, right? It's even longer than typical long-form content. And it is the most powerful tool you have to grow an audience, to connect with an audience, and to sell to your audience.
Okay, let's talk about each one of those. So you said grow your audience.
Yeah.
How do you use live streaming to grow your audience?
So you can use live streaming comes with, a lot of people think it's magical, right? It's like, oh, the algorithms like live, so let's just go live and let's hope it works.
Sure.
It does require a lot of strategy in terms of what is your intention behind live? Is it to build community or is it to grow your audience? And the show flows, the content itself looks differently in live than it does in, whether you're trying to, build community and just have a conversation. That's a really casual environment.
Yeah.
If you're trying to build it out for the replay to grow your audience, that looks very different. It's more educational. It's less chatty.
Yeah.
You can absolutely. So what I do is I leave room for the chatter at the beginning and the end, but then I create core content built for the replay, chop that out, and then that performs better as a replay than...
Yeah, so in YouTube's video editor, you can go right into your studio and just trim it and it'll resave it. It has to have less than 10,000 or 100,000 views in order to do it? No?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. Well,
hey, maybe I'm just learning something.
I think there used to be, I'm pretty sure there still is a restriction on it. As long as I think it's 100,000 views or less, you can still go and edit your live stream after the fact. But I think if it gets too popular, they don't let you do it.
Okay.
Is my guess.
You do lose the chat.
Oh, that's true too.
If you trim.
Okay. So you can use it for growth and you can use it for building community. What does that look like? briefly.
That looks like Q&As. That looks like conversation,
interactions.
A lot of fun, kind of involved in that environment.
Yeah.
I do Q&As, or I will do fireside chats. I do a lot, which is fun.
Yeah. Okay. And then you said sell.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So live with selling, when those two things are combined, it's actually really, really powerful if you come at it from the perspective that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. But live with selling is, so for example, I just did a product launch, 37% conversion rate because it's done live. Because and by the way, I'm not speaking about just YouTube Live or Facebook Live or Instagram Live. Zoom, I'm taking my stake in the ground right now and saying Zoom is the most powerful form of live video.
Is that because it's more interactive or
two-way conversation?
Two-way, okay.
You can, as a host, you can see the way they're reacting.
So you're talking about a Zoom meeting, not necessarily a Zoom webinar.
Correct.
Okay.
But Zoom meeting can mean so much more than most people put it to use for.
What does Google Hangouts get a little hot tip or no?
No, thank you.
Okay. That's how I feel too. I'm like, please don't. Yeah, Google. Whatever. They're not going to get off in the weeds of that.
No.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. But so you 37% conversion rate because of live streaming. What did you do to sell that launch with live streaming that made it just perform so well?
You want to know the truth?
I want to know the secrets that you're not going to share with anybody else. No, kidding. You can share them with other people.
I threw out everything that you're supposed to do.
Okay.
Like when you sell, we all know the webinar format or the this format or the this thing, right? And like you're supposed to squish objections and you're supposed to prepare them and you're supposed to value stack before they hear the price. Like you're supposed to do all of these perfect things. And the time before that 37%, when I did that, guess what conversion rate I got?
18.
1.1%.
1.1? That's actually impressive.
1%. That's impressive as a bad thing.
Yes.
That's impressively bad.
Yes.
It's so true, though, right? You can't build a business like that. And so when I threw out everything that you're supposed to do, and I did everything wrong, quote unquote.
Yeah.
That's when I hit 37% because I spoke from the heart and I didn't worry about any of that stuff.
That trumps everything else. That's the thing. Like people say, you got to find what works for you, right? And there's certain people like, I've systematized it and it seems to work for most people. But you're saying like, I'm not most people, and this like just being honest and transparent and like, hey guys, like I got this thing if you want it. Is that kind of like what it looked like? Yeah,
it was like, let's be fair. Part of it is the match of the product and the offer, right?
Sure.
But in the right audience,
right? Exactly.
But it was just like, hey, let me provide this value in this thing that you bought. I actually, in this particular scenario, I did it with a qualified buyer because they had already purchased a low ticket offer. So during that low ticket offer, I provided massive value, right? Like super deep. And then, throughout it was like, there is a potential to go deeper or like level this up. And I just mentioned, like, I'll talk about that here in a few minutes, right? It's just like, if you want to hear about it. And then I honestly just said, hey, like I have this thing. Do you guys want to hear about it? And they all said yes. So I was like, okay, let's talk about that. Right. And I didn't have a script. I didn't have bullet points. I just talked about what the value is that they were going to get.
Do you feel like that worked for you because your connection, like you're already regularly live streaming? It's like, do you make on-demand content or no? Is it all live?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Yeah. So, but a lot of us live, and so you already have a really good connection with your audience and good rapport. The trust is already built. They know they can trust you and all that. So when you come with something, deliver, you're just like, you want it? And they're like, yes, but you built up all that trust with live streaming and things for a long time, building up to that. And is that part of the magic sauce that makes it the selling work with?
I think credibility is always a factor, right? And building trust. And yes, my audience will buy without knowing what they're buying a lot of times, just because they know I provide massive value, right? And we get support tickets after. They're like, can you tell me what I bought? Because I just paid you. I don't know what I bought, which is beautiful, right? It's like, but also, for somebody who's not as warm or as is in my world.
Yeah.
I think it still works, right? And it's like when you're just real, like live video allows you to not be authentic. I'm throwing the word authentic out the window because everybody uses it. It's overused.
Yeah.
And honestly, it comes with such a surface level. Everybody's trying to be authentic, so it's not authentic.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I'm going with the word real.
Okay.
Or just like changing up the language
real,
here.
yeah.
Keep it real. And if you can combine live with you being real with your audience, that's where that magic happens, and you build trust so much quicker.
Yeah. So for someone who's listening to this and they're like, hey, I mostly do on-demand content. I'm curious about live streaming, but I've never done it before. How do I get started? What would be like the first steps you would recommend for someone who's thinking about doing live?
Yeah. I'm going to break every rule in the book right now because my business is built on professional quality video, right? And you buying courses and gear and all of that. And I'm going to say, screw that.
I'm like, we're all about breaking rules in this episode here.
I want you to pick up your phone and I want you to go live on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you are and just tap into the rawness that is the phone, right? Like that's where you start.
It almost feels vulnerable to
it's very vulnerable.
Yeah, to just start there. It's easier to hide behind fancy equipment and gear and then get this like really big, like energetic, like my camera, my wife, or not my wife, other people call it my camera voice,
Yeah, totally.
I noticed you have one too. I think it's just normal people have a camera voice. And then in real life, we're just like, at least for introverted me anyway, I get. So
I think that's the trap though,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
It's like, so in my world, everybody spends months, even a year or more. I've seen students buy all the
Creators do the
gear
same
and
thing.
hold it, hostage and procrastinate. And then once they finally get their video studio set up, yes, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do my thing. Freeze, like I don't have a personality anymore, right? Because now they're hidden behind all of this pro tech and it's intimidating to them. And when you start with the phone, you actually tap into the beauty of live and you can be vulnerable and you can learn to just have a conversation. Once you do that, then all the fancy tech adds instant credibility, professionalism, and actually does provide bigger results. It's just when you allow yourself to get trapped by the tech, that's when you get into trouble.
So, all right, this person hears that and they're like, okay, Lori, I hear you. I'm going to do this.
All right, we're going to pull out our phone.
I'm doing it. No one's coming.
That's okay.
Or a few people are coming, or I don't know what to say, or what do I do next, or how do I make it a good live stream so people will come back and I don't embarrass myself?
Well, first of all, we're all going to embarrass ourselves all the time. I embarrass myself on a daily basis.
I might be right now. I mean, I'm just not aware enough to know it.
I have worn a physical iPhone around my body and on camera. Like I've done weird things. Like I'm like getting comfortable being uncomfortable. That's a key component here. And that's key whether we're running our business, whether we're doing video, whether we're doing live podcasting, anything, right? But so Andy Smiles is one of my students who I love to talk about because she came to me and she was like, okay, she's a bookkeeper. She wanted to go live and build a business, use content to build her business. And I said, all right, you have no social following whatsoever, right? It's just brand new at this. Great. Let's get real. Let's make sure you understand you're not going to have any viewers the first time out. Likely. If you do, they're probably not going to comment. And so she taped up the view count of the window, and she just went live, and she delivered value. She showed up like 100 people were showing up. Were there, right? She just like, boom,
out of nowhere. 100 people is a decent number.
No, showed up as if.
Oh, she showed up as if.
She showed up as if. Yeah.
Okay.
She showed up as if she were delivering to 100 people, but 0 people were actually watching.
Oh, I get it now. Okay.
And then the replay, 24 hours later, she had a $3,000 contract that snowballed because one person watched that replay and she was like, oh my God, I love your energy. I love how you showed up. I love the value that you provided. And then, that snowballed into a bigger contract and that snowballed into word of mouth and her business grew.
Wow. Okay. So even if no one's there, and even if you don't really know what to do, and assuming you should have some kind of plan going into it? Or?
Yeah, having a show flow. And so when you're just going on live and you don't know that you're going to have viewers, if you have an existing audience and they're engaged, then likely when you go live, people are going to show up. If you don't have that, no harm. You just show up and you have a plan of 3 bullet points. Show up with a tease, like start with a tease. That's the same typical thing with VODs, right? Start with a tease. What is the replay viewer going to watch and get from that? Okay. Then kind of go down your 3 points of value and learn to be willing to deal with whatever happens live.
Yeah.
No.
Like loud buzzing
like
sounds.
Loud buzzing sounds.
Yeah, from the escalator.
But that's if you have the value that you want to deliver prepared, not scripted, but prepared, and you just talk from the heart, then that will help you deliver and not get awkwardly like no one's showing up and no one's commenting.
So one thing that I think helps me too is a live stream doesn't have to be like a really big long ordeal.
No, it doesn't.
You can just do it for 5 minutes if you wanted to, 10 minutes if you wanted to, just whether it's Instagram or Facebook, even on YouTube, right in the YouTube app, you can just go live. And so like you can just show up for a few minutes, hang out, say hi to the people who are there, and share your thought, your idea, the thing you want to communicate, and then be done and be gone, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it can be a lot lower key than like this high pressure thing to have like an hour long show.
I think that word is key, pressure. We all put so much pressure on ourselves with recorded video and podcasting and all of that, of course, but also with live kind of is exponential pressure.
Yeah.
That is self-placed and has no bearing in reality.
Yeah, cool. So if someone is like, I'm going to give us a shot, do you have like a couple sample ideas that they could take and run with? Like, hey, if you're feeling uncomfortable using live streaming, just try this or just do that or just that. Any like starter ideas?
Yeah, sure. Top 3 reasons too. 3 ways to accomplish X. Behind the scenes is always fun, right? Like this is how I produce this, or how I create this, or how I work with my clients. Any behind the scenes content is always gold.
Yep. I used to do a whole show just based on Q&A with my audience, and so like common questions that people would ask. Even if they weren't in the audience asking it, I would just bring them, be like, "Hey, you got some common questions or something?" And I would just talk through them, and sometimes people would show up, listen, that might often prompt other follow-up questions and things
exactly.
too. So you can do that.
Yeah,
too.
don't ever expect to do a live Q&A without having prepared questions.
Yeah,
that's really important until you know you're going to have engagement and questions show up.
Let's go back to the selling thing for a second, because I think it's important for a lot of these people who are small business owners and creators who are trying to make money on this platform and thing. So and that could apply to whether you're selling like pitching Patreon or pitching a course or pitching a service or a book or a free PDF download or whatever, right?
And let's get rid of the word pitching.
Pitching? Okay. What do you want to call it?
Selling?
Offering. Okay. I like that. Yeah, that's good. So we talked about it being just like community driven, making it like your own thing, like something that feels natural and good for you as opposed to following a set formula, right?
Right.
And then is there anything else that goes into that?
Yeah, really when it comes to building a community and being real with your audience, it's about being real with yourself first and saying, how do I view my community? Am I viewing them as numbers? Am I focused on how many people are here, or am I focused on the people behind who are here?
Yeah.
What do you know about your audience's personal life? If you are asking them to buy from you and trust you, they're learning things about you. You need to reciprocate. So I know my audience's dogs' names. I know where they live. I know, right? Not every single one of them, but the people who show up consistently. It's important to know something personal about them so that they feel, not hear, but they feel like you care about them as people. And then also, I think the true mark of a community, and I think this is pretty rare, but this is one of the things I love about my community is that it's not that they're showing up for me. is that they're showing up for each other.
Yeah.
And they're having side conversation. When I look up at my chat during a live stream and I have no idea what's happening, I'm like, what are y'all talking about? I'm like, that is gold, because they're having side conversations. I'm the elbow that has connected two different people. They connect outside of my life. And I think that a lot of people and brands let ego get in the way and say, well, no, that's not good. Like, what about me? Like, they need to be here for me and like hear my product.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I'm on stage.
stage. Yeah. So I think ego comes in the mix here a lot. And so we need to remove that and see the beauty that is the loyalty that is created by you connecting two different people.
Yeah, I've always said there's a difference between an audience and a community. People
Abso-freaking-lutely.
often use them interchangeably, but I see like an audience is when you're on a stage and everyone's sitting in rows, like looking up at the person on the stage. And when the person on the stage stops performing, the audience disappears. They go away, right?
Yeah.
But a community, I think, is when the person on the stage can get everyone in the audience to find more value in turning and connecting with each other than they were when they all just focus on the one person. And that's when it feels like you're diverting attention away from yourself, but you're actually delivering more value to them that way and making it much stickier for people to stick around, and thus you have better sales and better audience. And
the lifetime value of your customer goes up because they're sticking around, like you said.
And it's not like the goal here is like, what do I have to do to get the most amount of money out of these people's wallets? It's not like, how do I extract value? They give you more because you're providing more. You're serving them better with the community, and so they end up doing more transactions.
Exactly.
With you, right? So the transactions are more of a result rather than like the goal that we're going on. Although it is a goal, but it's a good indication that we're serving people well.
Exactly.
So,
and one of the ways that you can do that is by gamifying the experience of that community. And this is where a lot of like selling can be fun, right? A lot of people come into like selling with live videos like, all right, I got a sale. I don't know what that voice was. I don't do voices. I should never attempt it.
That's okay. We don't have to edit that out either. And if you're live, you just roll with it, right?
You just roll with it. But
those are the moments people love too, by the way. That's when they're paying the most attention.
Exactly.
When that stuff happens.
I would actually, if you wanted to edit that out, I would say, no, leave that in,
exactly.
right? Like that's the goal.
Even if you told me to, I'd be like, that's awesome though.
No, yeah.
Because people, like, that's the real stuff people gravitate towards. So anyway, go ahead, gamification.
But when selling can be super fun. So we do something in our world where if we have a product launch or a Black Friday sale or something like that, we'll do what we call Pocket Callie. The audience calls it Pocket Callie. Callie is our community manager, and she comes in on a green screen in a little corner. So she's like a little mini Callie in the corner of my screen. I'm big, and then she's like a little here, and she's hitting a piñata every time somebody buys something and calling their name out. Right? She's like, oh, like Travis just bought, boom, trying to like get the candy out. Right? People have bought twice just because they want to hear their name called out.
$10,000 purchases, boom, boom, boom.
No, maybe not that, but it's like that aspect of fun and engagement. It doesn't have to be transactional is the point. It can be motivating, and it can be a community-oriented experience, and it can be something where you turn selling from sleazy into fun.
Yeah, cool. I don't, this is totally kind of different from what you were just talking about, but one thing I noticed in your lives, because I pop in once in a while, sometimes I'll say hi, most of the times I'll just lurk.
Lurking,
I'm on YouTube a lot for my job, and I
now I'm a little nervous.
Your live notification in the like suggested video or whatever. And one thing that I noticed, you triggered it when you said fun. It's like you are almost always smiling on camera.
Yes, I am.
And I think just the smile, even if you're
it's
smiling,
as simple
like
as that.
smiling or something there's no reason to smile about this right now, but just smiling just makes people feel like at ease and calm and like, it lets people's guards down. So especially if you feel uncomfortable on your live stream, just put a smile on your face and see how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. I've people often tell me like, thank you for being a joy in this down world, right? Like, so whatever is going on in the world, they come to me for my shows just to have some laughs and to enjoy life again and just feel like a little, maybe
connection.
Serotonin. Yeah.
So anything else besides gamification and keeping it real?
I think it's really important to just follow the rules, but break them, right? And so like, don't allow yourself to get caught up in the what ifs or the I shoulds and the how to's. Like, it's important at a conference like this, we're all learning strategies, right? And it's important to follow those strategies. And it's also important to add your magic to it and find ways to break the rules and make it your own. Because otherwise, how many people are here? Thousands of people are here implementing the same strategies.
The same way.
Yeah. What happens? Like, you've got to add your own magic to it. And that's where the beauty is.
Yeah. The trick is finding the magic that works, right? And
totally.
So it's not just trying one way, one thing, and expecting it to work, but it's usually like trying a lot of different ways and keep experimenting and doing it like, this worked really well. Great. Let's keep doing that. Like, oh, well, now let's try it this way and see if it works even better. And continue to add your sense. That's really good.
Have a little fun with it.
And if I was going to kind of like overall what you're saying is like, be you, be normal, be natural. Because ultimately this is about connecting with people, like you said in the beginning.
Exactly.
This isn't just about sales. This isn't just about views. Every view does represent a real person who's giving you the opportunity to speak into their life. So we don't want to just dismiss that, but this is about how do we connect with people and offer value and deliver that. And live streaming offers a way to do that on-demand content doesn't, because it can be interactive. It can be back and forth.
Exactly.
And you can get to know your audience's dog names.
Exactly.
I'm like, I've never heard another creator say that.
Oh, really?
That they know their audience to the level they know their dogs, the audience's dog's name.
Oh, funny.
So
I think I've told you about my challenge, right? Like the Lita Live Every Day in April. Have we talked about that?
I've heard about that.
Oh, okay. It's all about that. It's like, who are you at your core? Like, who are you and how do you bring that out into the world?
Yeah.
Because I think people struggle with that so much. There's a quote, and I don't know who it's by. Like, discover who you are and do it intentionally. Is that Oprah?
I don't know, but discover who you are is a loaded. There's a lot there. As someone who's been doing therapy for a few years now, there's a lot.
That's why I'm passionate about it. I'm
Yeah.
super therapy, best thing ever.
Yeah.
And actually, people call this challenge therapy. Like,
Oh, really?
I'm not a therapist, and but like, it's so deep because it's like, so powerful.
Yeah. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Rip
Do it
it
every day in
off.
April. Yep. And you can join her community over at her channel, link down below.
I loved Luria's energy and passion around making sales fun. I mean, who said sales had to be sleazy and boring? Right? What did you guys think?
I feel like that's almost you go into it feeling that way already. I think that's almost like a limitation creators put on themselves. Like, it just feels sleazy. Like, I don't want to sell things. So I think there is a lot of power in just kind of owning it, but especially to have fun with it too. And knowing like it's like everybody wins. We're serving our audience well. They're happy and it serves us well too. And like it really can be a fun thing.
Yeah, I think it also helps with that know, like, and trust factor too, of like you just building that relationship with your audience and that to a point where they want to support you and want to buy from you, right? And just rather than trying to come at it as a salesy perspective all the time, allowing that kind of value to shine through and that human side of you to shine through really does lead to like, okay, well, I love this person. I want to support them. Yeah, I'm going to buy from you.
Yeah, the thing that I love about going live is, it's such an opportunity to really connect with your audience. And you don't have to be perfect because life isn't perfect. None of us are perfect in our lives. And I think that it gives you a lot of opportunity. And Luria kind of touched on this too, to be vulnerable and make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, all that does is humanize you. And that's a connector, right? We talk about it all the time with video strategy.
For sure. And then when it comes to live streaming, especially, I mean, from a YouTube perspective, like it's a great community content piece for YouTube. And that's a great place where you don't have to worry about a ton of editing. It's just like, I'm here to hang out and build relationships, get to know you guys.
Yeah, well, I feel like with any real life friendships too, usually I'm curious with you guys if it's the same thing, but I feel like, the moment where you either go through something together with a friend of yours or like there's some sort of maybe like almost embarrassing thing or like mistake that's happened, but you like bond over it. And now there's this new sense of trust there. I think a lot of times when it comes to being a content creator, there's this feeling like you have to have it all together and be perfect. But even on a live stream, to just maybe there are some mistakes or some moments where your viewers can see you as a real person that's like just like them. They can relate to you. And especially I think in the side of sales and making, sales conversions, I think someone will be much more likely to purchase something from you if you feel like a real tangible person that they can relate to. So I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, and I feel like also one of the things, like I remember when Tim used to go live every Monday at like 2 p.m. Eastern. I remember this. And I would go onto YouTube first thing in the morning on Monday, and right there, upper left-hand corner, the algorithm served up the notification that he was going live. So I would always put get notified. But he was very consistent with it. And I always showed up because just even as an audience member, it was just cool to just hear him live versus in a video. It felt more real, and I felt like I was part of the community. So it was fun chatting with everybody, in the chat as well. And I just had this sense of belonging. And so it's no surprise that even myself later on gave him all my money. He would laugh if he were here. Right? As so many of you have out there too, because we have that bond that, gets established over that. And there's such a power too with live streaming post being live. So when you do move forward and you decide, okay, I have what I need, I'm going to go ahead and, go for it. Gloria said, I don't need all the top equipment to get started. All I needed was my phone. That's true. When you go ahead and do that, don't forget about the people that are watching this on replay, because you will have way more views after the fact than when you are live. Because when you're live, only a certain amount of people can come to that, right? The majority of your audience, this is something that's going to live evergreen on YouTube. And you really have an amazing opportunity for a really strong traffic source here. Coming to something that you didn't necessarily script. I encourage you not to script. Have a plan, have an outline. You heard Gloria. She said, have a strategy. Go into a live with a strategy. Don't just show up and wing it. But you don't need to script, because you don't script yourself in real life. Live talking to your family. Any other thoughts that you guys have when it comes to strategy?
One thing she mentioned that I really, really like too is showing up as if you're talking to 100 people. So like regardless if one person's there or if 5 people are there, showing up, acting as if, hey, there's 100 people here to talk to me. I'm going to give it my all, give it my best. Because again, for that replay value that comes across, right? And remembering at the same time too that, that one person there is still a person we want to speak to and give it our all no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how she said to just really kind of make it a party, because when you do that, it's something that people want to become a part of the next time. And so, like she said, if you were to edit your lives, and you can edit your lives afterwards, which is great. I highly recommend that to a lot of my clients, is to talk as if you're talking to not just the people there, but also the people watching the replay. If you're watching the replay too, don't join in. Tell me in the comments what you think about this as you're going along. Make them feel included too. But when you get to the end and you're saying goodbye, you can cut all that stuff out. Don't forget, if you're going to do that, why don't you have a game plan going in, like we always talk about, know what you're going to pitch to, and do a call to action at the end. It's okay that people live are there, because that's really meant for the replay, and you can cut out all the thank yous and goodbyes at the end, which is the people first thing to do.
Right. And I think, one thing she also mentioned too that stood out to me quite a bit was the strategy around what's the intention of your live. Are you trying to build a community? Are you trying to grow your audience? Are you trying to sell? Because each one is going to have a different strategy behind it and how you approach it. Where if I'm just trying to build a community, cool, I'm going to do a Q&A. I'm going to chat with you guys, as opposed to if I'm trying to grow an audience. Okay, let's be more educational. We'll still have the chattiness in there, but like have that, we'll have the focus more on the value than anything. And then when it comes to selling, okay, let's work on the value stacking so that when it comes to a point of selling, again, being human, speaking to your fears, wants, desires, being relatable, value stacking in that. So when it comes to the selling portion, it's like, cool, at this point, yeah, that makes sense. I want to buy from you.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of times it's easy to only think of live streaming as community content and that's it, and that it can't really accomplish anything else. And so I think it's interesting to really think about the intentionality behind it. And I mean, all of this is gold because there's really so much you can accomplish with live streams, even if that's all you do. Maybe all you do, your channel, and all you do is live streams and you don't do other types of content. I think it can be easy to kind of think like, oh, well, all I have is community content. Like, how am I supposed to grow the channel? So to have some real tangible tips that will help you kind of plan the intent behind each live stream that can accomplish kind of these different buckets, these different intents, I think is really valuable to know.
I love that you brought that up. So let's look at this now strategically, because I have a question. Would you still follow regular title and thumbnail strategy for a live? Curious what you two think.
100%. I still think the same rules apply. I mean, again, for replay value, like that video can still be found on homepage. You know, if someone could scroll past that, it can still be enticing enough and it could pull them in. It's like, why not? You know, it's still applicable.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that actually plays into what we were saying earlier behind the intent of planning ahead of your stream. Not saying you have to script the entire thing, but the more proactive you can be and you kind of know the roadmap a little bit, you have a better opportunity to create a stronger title, especially for the replay later too, like really kind of thinking through those things before going for it.
Yeah, that's super, super valuable. I think one of the things that, you know, when I think about a lot of the clients that we've worked with and some that really nail live stream strategy, well, they have products, you know, they have businesses and courses and, you know, merch and other things that they sell. And live streaming doesn't really feel so kind of sleazy if that is a hard thing for you in your videos. It is a good opportunity, especially if you like have books or courses, because you can really talk to the problem that you're having and get live feedback from the audience at the same time. To when you go to position your product, it just makes natural sense. So it's definitely something for you to think of from a sales perspective, not just community content as well.
If you want to talk through live stream strategy, how to work through maybe some of those roadblocks, or just how to start incorporating that into your overall content strategy, we would love to work with you and hear some of your story and just help you along to take some of those next best steps. So if that's something that you're interested in, we would love to jump into an hour consultation with you. So feel free to visit videocreators.com/consulting, and we'll talk with you there.
We like to leave you here with a power tip every week, and YouTube has something new that they've created. Up until now on community posts that included upcoming live streams or premieres, you never really had an opportunity to notify people if they were interested from that. Now there's a new Notify Me button, which will help you to actually prompt your viewers to opt into notifications. You can remind them when to join a live stream when it actually happens. And also when you're sharing your live streams and premieres in posts, users are now going to see a Notify Me button on the post directly. And this will give them the opportunity to opt in to being notified when your content goes live. I love it when YouTube gives us great tools that are very, very helpful. Thanks so much for listening to another Video Creators Podcast episode. See you next week. Bye.